several divisions in protecting us as we're dealing with the crises that are happening abroad. And so I can't thank him enough for his service to this country, but more important, service to 4C. So ladies and gentlemen, I'll just say this, Sergeant Major Trevor Jackman.
Well, good morning. I want to welcome everyone here. As you can see, you are the first group to see our new location where we will be moving from upstairs to downstairs. That's our new transition. First and foremost, I want to really welcome everyone here. We've been going through a lot of changes. We've been going through a lot of different things. But I'm thinking positive. As he said, I've served 4 wars. I think there is more crucial things that's going on in this world right now that would not put us in a situation where we can resolve any type of situations that we are dealing with right now. So again, as he was saying, I've taken over as the Senior Director of Personnel Management and Operations. I've been taking a lot of inputs from a lot of my providers and parents and doing what I can within the budget to make it a home and a place that you can voice and give your opinions. But on the other hand, I just want you to, today is a day for us to relax, listen to some of the things of the future, and of course, as everyone just heard, there was a large incident in Pittsburgh where there was an attack and some people died, and I want to think about that. I think of my friends that maybe have to be there to support us. So again, I want to welcome you, and I want you to enjoy this meeting and take notes and take actions of what's going to be coming in the future, because we need you just like you need us. It's going to be a team effort. Thank you.
Before I bring up our first very special speaker, I would like to have the staff and consultants of 4C, so please stand up, because I want people to see you and notice you. All the staff and consultants, please rise. And I tell you, they're the ones that have given so much to the community. What, staff? You guys are shy? Yeah. Thank you, staff. Yeah. Give them a big hand. All right. So now we're going to hear some very, very important people in our lives. They're the ones that make decisions and policies that can determine things that will be good for us and that can help us and protect us in achieving the American dream. And so the first person, because it's only customary that she welcome all of you, especially to the city of San Jose. She's an outstanding leader that I've known when she was just a child. I'm that old. But she's been a member of this child care community for many years as a social worker, as a member of the First Five, and as well as the state commissioner of First Five to the appointment of one of our governors. And so I would like to, at this time, allow you to meet a very fantastic leader, dynamic woman. You know what they call her? Her nickname? Wonder Woman. Yeah. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Vice Mayor of the city of San Jose, Magdalena Carrasco.
Thank you. I'm waiting for her to come in. Good morning. Buenos días. Es un placer estar con todos ustedes. Tengo entendido que tienen los audífonos, los que van a ocupar a la traducción, así es que me voy a dirigir al inglés para que hagan el trabajo el día de hoy, ¿sí? Nada más que los quería saludar en español. Pero es un placer estar con todos ustedes. Yo soy Magdalena Carrasco, soy la vicealcaldesa de la ciudad de San José, y mi familia es de Durango. ¡Viva Durango! la tierra de los alacranes. Eso no se traduce en inglés, así es que por eso lo tenía que decir en español. I was just mentioning my family's from Durango. It doesn't translate in Spanish, so I had to say it in Spanish because we take great pride for those of us who are from the land of the scorpions. But it's a real pleasure to be here. I'm the vice mayor of the city of San Jose. And my family is from, like I mentioned, from Durango. I'm a very proud only daughter of a couple that left everything behind to seek the American dream, like probably many of you. And so my story isn't unique. Is it very, very special? It's very similar to millions of folks who have made their way here. But I always like to mention that because we have that in common, and we've helped build what is now the great United States, and of course what is our beautiful city of San Jose. And the city of San Jose currently is home to over 30% immigrant families. And so we're very proud and we're very inclusive, and we respect and we honor our diversity. We don't recognize it as a weakness, we see it as a strength. And because of that, we have invested a great deal of funding in our Office of Immigrant Affairs. The first time ever for us to have an Office of Immigrant Affairs. When I came into office, I was one of the original authors of a memo that created the Office of Immigrant Affairs. So I'm very proud of that. But I wanted to be able to mention that. So thank you so much. I want to first of all thank our Executive Director for Four Cs and his team for having me here, and of course for having the panel, and for having an opportunity to just talk about what I think is a very critical issue, which is high quality childcare. Because those of us who have been parents know the struggle that we've all faced at one point looking for someone to take care of our little ones, even if it was just to take a nap. But we're all looking for quality childcare, more importantly, to help us achieve the American dream, which is so that we can go to work and have peace of mind when we leave our little ones in the care of someone who will care for them and nurture them the way we hope they will, like we do when we're home with them. And if we don't have those pieces in place, it makes it nearly impossible for us to go to work. So, as I represent one of the lowest income communities in the city of San Jose, East San Jose. I don't know who's from East San Jose. Which I think, and I battled this with 10 other council members. It's 9 council members, I'm the 10th, and then there's the mayor. We have a friendly debate. I always say, East San Jose is the most beautiful part of the city of San Jose. Not because it has Willow Glen and Lincoln Avenue, Rose Garden, Almaden Valley with its beautiful lake, but because the people there are resilient, hardworking. They get up every single day, sometimes in spite of the odds that are stacked against us. And we don't give up. We can get knocked down, and we get up time and time again. We have a federal government that attacks us, calls us criminals, among other things. We have children that are terrified that their parents will be torn from them, and yet they are still performing to the best of their abilities. I have the best district in the city. But nonetheless, we have challenges, and raising our children and having that care in those centers is one of them. But I want to give you a couple of statistics. As was mentioned before I became a politician, this wasn't supposed to be my life. I was a social worker for 25 years. I worked with families who were in crisis. I walked into their homes. I worked with families who suffered from domestic violence. I worked with men who were struggling and who wanted to change their lives, who wanted to break that cycle of violence. I worked for First Five towards the end of my social worker career. And then once I was an elected official on the Eastside Union High School District, I was appointed by Governor Brown to the Educare Commission at the state level, where I was able to advocate and allocate funding for Educare, the only Educare center in the city of San Jose, which is a beautiful example of what policy and practice can do when we put best practices under one roof and provide high-quality childcare and preschool, a university for parents, and also bring teenage parents under one roof. And that's also in one of our most vulnerable communities. But San Jose, the third largest city in California and the 10th largest in the country, is not an easy place to live in, and we know that. Every day, the cost of living is getting higher and higher. The average income, depending on which source you look at, is between $89,000 and $119,000. That's the average household income. To buy a home, it will cost you now about $900,000 to $1 million to buy a home in my district, in East San Jose. You've seen the houses in East San Jose?
Yeah.
En el este de San Jose, una casita de aquellas, $900,000. Están bonitas. And the city is getting poised to grow in the next 20 years. We are expecting that we will have about 250,000 new residents in 20 years. So we are investing in our infrastructure, streets, bridges, highways, parks, and schools. Opportunity for all of you, because they come with babies. So you need to be ready for that. But what does that mean for rents that are already at premium rates? A 2-bedroom is over $3,000. In a report that was published by 4Cs, because I read it on your website, there are over 28,000 children 0 to 2 in need of high-quality childcare that still don't have it. And in San Jose alone, over 16,000 children ages 0 to 2 in need of high-quality childcare that still do not have a spot. Social economist by the name of James Heckman, who won the Nobel Prize for Economics in 2000, firmly believes in the impact of early childhood care and education and on the success of a child if we invest early. But more shocking is if we don't invest, what happens later? The cost to society is huge. And this is where all of the expenses take place. The after-school programs, the failure in education, and unfortunately that pipeline into our jail system. So your job is of critical importance, providing a nurturing environment where that small window, very small window of opportunity exists for every little tiny human being that comes into your care. And we know it's small because all of you have taken the workshops, all of you have taken the courses, you've all been certified. It's when all the synapses are firing very quickly and the brain is developing. And the brain cells are multiplying. And it's one of the short moments in human development when this is happening. And the only other time that that happens again is during adolescence, right? And so if you don't take advantage of that, then what happens is when that child goes to school, they spend the rest of their life playing catch up. And so your job is to help those synapses fire off and those brain cells develop quickly. And it happens with a sense of security, a sense of rhythm, a sense of consistency. Consistency in their scheduling, in their sleep time, their nap time. The soothing of your voice. Sometimes people don't give you the value that you deserve because everybody thinks that you can raise a baby. And so I thank you for the work that you do because we know that as a city, we're investing money as well to try and capture our audience when we have them. And we haven't done a great job, but we're getting better. And part of getting better means partnering with folks who are already doing a great job, such as yourself. And that's partnering with our library systems, partnering with 4Cs, First 5, partnering with the county, partnering with the schools. We've invested in our school districts, which, by the way, a lot of folks don't believe that that's the job of the cities. They believe that the city should fill in a pothole, should pay for police, should pay for the fire, but should not invest in students. We're very lucky that we currently have a council that does not believe the same way. They believe in investing in human beings. So, yes, I think that deserves an applause. So we currently have invested in extending our school programs, not an after-school program, but extending our school programming so that we can maximize, especially in our most vulnerable and our lowest income communities, because we know that in some cases we do have catching up to do. And when we have our Parks and Rec programs, we already have a captured audience. So how do we, instead of have recreational programs, the preschool programs, which have been recreational programs, how do we have a curriculum or a high-quality childcare program? How do we support those children that are already in our care? And lastly, I will leave you with this. We are, like I mentioned, getting ready for a population boom because it's going to happen. Google's coming in, Adobe's buying land, Apple's coming, and many other high-tech companies are coming into San Jose. They're coming. And we wanted them to come because people, our residents were saying, we want jobs. We don't want to spend an hour and a half traveling and driving in the freeway and going across the bay. We want to work where we live. So you told us that's what you wanted. The schools told us that's what they wanted, and so we have been working very hard to attract companies so that they can settle in the city so that our residents don't have to travel very far. So they're coming. And so as they're coming, we're now investing in our parks. We have programming that's taking place in the parks. We have placemaking that's taking place in the parks. We have art installations. We have many programs that are happening all over the city that make it more family friendly so that you don't have to travel and spend that kind of wasted time in parking lots that are really considered freeways, right? Because you're just at a standstill. And the reason why I bring this up is because as you are looking at what do you do with your home centers, you have more options in terms of those stimulating environments for children. And if you're looking also for even small grant funds, you can turn to your council members. We have funding. When you're starting to think, what do I do with my children to stimulate them, you can turn to your council members and ask them for funding. And if you want to have more information, Sachin is right there, who's my staffer, and he will get you more information. But I want to thank you again for all that you do. You are nurturing individuals who will grow up, and I truly believe you have in your midst, you have in your homes, you have in your arms children who will grow up and one day will save the world. We are living in very dangerous times. Mother Earth is dying. We've been very abusive to her. And so we need individuals who will love her back to health, nurture her back to health. And you are raising children who will be thinking about that, who will nurture her back to health in order to save the next generation of human beings, who will foster peace around the globe on our behalf, because maybe we haven't done such a great job, who will start to think of how to end hunger, or take with them other more innovative, creative ways of ending poverty or feeding people or sustainable agriculture. That's who you're raising. Those are the brains that you're creating. So I want to thank you for helping us save the world.
I just met Wonder Woman. Thank you, Vice Mayor. Well said and duly well heard. The next gentleman I'm going to introduce to you, I've probably known for, gosh, almost 50 years of my life. This month is called Filipino American History Month. So I'm somewhat like a Filipino. Some think I'm Samoan, some think I'm Latino. So I'll take it whatever it is or whatever makes anybody happy. But this gentleman, I remember, made a legislation that helped Filipinos tremendously. He and his colleagues passed a law that said that Filipinos will be Filipinos. Now think about that. Before we were Filipinos, we were other. Think about that. So when Vice Mayor says, we gotta give children their identity of the future, if you're gonna be an other for the rest of your life, you really won't know where you're going. And I have to give thanks to this mayor. Now we've traveled together, not together, going to the Philippines, doing trade missions and Sister City. And let me tell you, he's a rock star in the Philippines. Bruno Mars has no standing with this guy. He stands out there and oh my gosh, he just commands. But most important is that this human being has given so many inspiring, aspiring future leaders to carry on the legacy that he had started when he was a Speaker of the House of the Assembly of California. And then he continued it as the mayor of San Francisco. And then he also continued as he created a foundation so that it would be a stepping stone for many who want to aspire to serve the community like Magdalena. And so I can't thank him enough for taking the time to come from his busy schedule and share with you things that maybe already well known and maybe not. And usually he brings things that I don't even see in the future that he's already seen. But more important, when I heard him speak one time some 25 years ago, I said, man, God, please, give me an ounce of how he speaks. He's so eloquent. He's so delivering. And Magdalena demonstrates that quality that this gentleman will show you in what he's going to share with you. And so I can't thank him enough for being here. I can't thank him enough for what he's done for our community, our state, our country, as well as the global. He received the NAACP highest award, and he was introduced to that award by former President Bill Clinton. And so I can't say anymore, but if you ever pass the Bay Bridge, it's no longer the Bay Bridge. Anybody pass the Bay Bridge? Not the Golden Gate Bridge, but the Bay Bridge from, let's say, from Oakland to San Francisco and vice versa, right? You ever pass that bridge? Yes, right? Yes, and you say, wow, that's a good-looking bridge, right? With all the lights and all that in the evening. Yeah, you like the lights, right? Well, no, you can't say Bay Bridge no more, because that was gone almost 4 years ago. We had to call it the Willie Brown Bridge. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a big hand for that Willie Brown.
Vice Mayor and others who are assembled here in front, as well as Ben and all of you who are assembled herein. It was so many years ago that I focused my attention on early childhood education. Tell you, I got elected to public office, and I watched instantly in amazement the political power that came from people who were interested in education. There were the individuals who were the executives running the educational institutions in the state of California. There were the faculty members who did the teaching at every level of education in the state of California. And then there were the teachers below those tenured faculty persons who were doing what they did in the respective classrooms. In all of those categories, the individuals were constantly badgering persons who make decisions, whether city council persons, whether supervisor persons, whether individuals at the legislative level, whether individuals at the national level. The organized operations involving education approached the decision makers and extracted from the decision makers quality decisions and resources to make their job possible. However, in all of that process, I noticed that there was not anyone doing anything about really early childhood education, not doing anything about the business of what happens to a kid who is connected to somebody who has to go to work every day, and therefore somebody has to take care of that kid while the earnings go down to keep that kid housed, clothed, and fed. I was frankly amazed. I said, my 3 kids, I now know why my 3 kids did not get the kind of attention in the education delivery system until they were like 6, 4, 10, somewhere further up the line. I said, as a member of the legislature, I was going to organize the parents who were members of the legislature, who had children, to make sure that as the educational dollars and the educational attention would be focused in the budget process, in the administrative process, in the rule and regulation process, there would be included somebody speaking for the youngest, somebody speaking for the kids that didn't have any organized teacher associations or faculty associations or administrative associations speaking on their behalf. And lo and behold, I was blown away by how quickly members of the legislature were willing to listen just a little bit about what we should do with children and what kind of assistance we should offer to the very young children for purposes of making it possible for them to ultimately grow up to compete and be full human beings. And we started the process at that level. And this was back in the 60s, when there was no such thing as people arguing for child care, when there was no such thing as people arguing for really early childhood education. And it turned out to be a very popular thing to do. It was not Republican, it was not Democrat, it was not independent, it was people interested in their children, people interested in quality place for their children when they went off to work, people interested in not just child care at that opportunity, but some component that would provide for that kid what that kid normally would get at home if that kid was at home, and in an environment where that kid could interact with other kids their same age, other kids their same level of participation. And that started unfolding dramatically in the halls of the legislature. That started unfolding dramatically in the educational delivery system at every level. Suddenly, colleges began to think, we should get in on this because we ought to help train people to do this kind of work. And suddenly you've had the credentialing process of early childhood education. You then begin to see how quickly the people in the health system begin to say, our attention ought to be, because some of those kids coming in there don't have access necessarily to what they might need for some problem they have on the medical side. We better pay some attention to that as well. And then the fire department people, the people in the world of public safety came in and said, maybe we should talk about the physical structure in which child care and early childhood education goes on so that they're in a physical, safe environment. There begin to be a whole collection of people who begin to say, let's organize the people who actually do the work within this system. What I'm telling you is there has been an evolutionary process all geared toward trying to make the opportunity that each of us would desire with children to have some place to place our children in a healthy environment, in a safe environment where a kid can be, in fact, looked at and checked on and provided a degree of assistance and safety while we go off to work. When serving is made, I went to the federal government and I said, you provide lots of money for economic development, and you're talking about businesses, you're talking about commercial establishments, etc. I think you ought to take some of that money and redirect it and make it available to create structures for child care, to create structures for early childhood education. And the federal government bought it as a concept, bought it on an experimental basis, and then suddenly discovered that the one collection of people that paid their bills in that regard are the people who run those particular facilities. They pay them because they know they need to make sure that they're paid. They need to make sure that they're current in every way. So what I'm suggesting to you is that as things have unfolded, there's not a real, wonderful, tough movement that calls to the attention of everybody who wants to run for public office. I want to know where you stand on early childhood education. I want to know where you stand on child care operations. I want to know where you stand on who those people are working in those child care operations. I want to know where you stand on the nature of the compensation that will go to the individuals there. I want to know where you stand on the resources that will allow for all the things needed inside of those facilities, not just in fact the facility. I want to know where you stand on how we constantly and aggressively, continuously evaluate and make the advocacy for early childhood education and child care equal to the advocacy for all the other components of the educational delivery system. So at a town hall forum of this nature, keep in mind, this should not be the only time you come and participate. This should not be the only time that you hear us or offer some suggestions or some recommendations. These town hall opportunities is exactly for that. Because you see, politicians respond to folk whom they know or aware of what they're doing and how they're doing it, and will cast their vote accordingly if there is zero accountability on their items and on their issues. Child care represents that golden opportunity, and people can participate no matter what political registration you have, no matter where you're standing in life. I can assure you that the business of asking and demanding participation and measurements of the quality you get in a child care facility, measurement of the quality you get in early childhood education, politicians will be quickly responsive. Quickly responsive. Because you see, the need is obvious. Those who get the earliest opportunity in a healthy environment with some component of it devoted to learning, interacting with other youngsters, it ultimately produces a wonderful competitive human being at every level who at simultaneously will be equally as interested in sharing their resources with others who may be in need. And so I came down from San Francisco to visit with you on the occasion of your town hall, because I really do want the state of California and its 40 million people to find that somewhere in the neighborhood of half of those people are advocates for the smallest, the youngest, and the ones most given the opportunity to define our future. That's the nature of what child care and the opportunity that extends to youngsters in that category. I would guess that if you go backwards and in your own life, you'll find somewhere in the early part of your life there was something that occurred that helped direct you. Within the framework of child care facilities and early childhood facilities, we want only the healthiest of those experiences to be there, because then the end product becomes individuals contributing to and making life better for others. Thank you very much for having me.
Another big round of hand to Mayor Brown and to Vice Mayor. Mayor Brown, before you leave, Mayor Brown, don't leave. So we're gonna take a short break. See, your fan base just grew by 200 people. So some of them told me if they don't get a chance to thank you, they're gonna hang me. So we're gonna take a break, and then after we get a chance to meet one of the most leading business organization, and he's got some very important things that he wants to present to all of you, especially to our providers. But right now, we'll take a 10, I know breaks when they have to come around. So I want to thank very much those who provided food for us today, Gloria Tanner and William Santa Maria, as well as staff. And then we're going to take a 10-minute break, because I know that this is like a little photo op. I'll only give you 5 minutes to say thank you to Mayor Willie Brown. All right, take a break.